welcome back to the Wisconsin Motor Carriers Association podcast, The Road Ahead. I'm Dan Johnson, WMCA president, and this is going to be a really unique episode today. We are going to dive into our Trooper in a Truck program, which is a partnership we created a few years ago with the Wisconsin State Patrol and our safety programs coordinator to educate motorists out on the road. Very unique program, and we're going to learn more about how that works and everything that we do with the Trooper in a Truck program on today's podcast. But before we get there, just wanted to let you know that today's episode is sponsored by Baker Tilly. For trucking companies facing complex financial, tax, and business challenges, Baker Tilly delivers industry-focused solutions that help transportation businesses operate more efficiently and plan for the future. From tax strategy and accounting services to business consulting and succession planning, their team understands the unique needs of motor carriers. Learn more about how Baker Tilly can help move your business forward at bakertilly.com. And now, enjoy this episode of the WMCA podcast, The Road Ahead.
Hello, here this month's podcast, we're going to be talking about Trooper in the Truck program. And what the unique thing is that we team up with law enforcement and our Wisconsin road team captains. They get out in a truck, they can have a higher vantage point, and it's a really unique experience. It's our 5th year doing it weekly. This morning we have Nate Henriksen with the State Patrol, and we have one of our road team captains, Neal LeClaire, who's been participating in it since the beginning. And I think, Nate, you have been also. Lieutenant, why don't you give us a few little background about yourself?
Good morning to the both of you, and thanks, Kim. So a little bit about myself is I'm a lieutenant that oversees a number of statewide programs within our special operations section. And it's been a great opportunity and a great partnership to work with you, Kim, over the last 5 or 6 years here to help coordinate those law enforcement efforts, those law enforcement resources to participate with the Wisconsin Motor Carriers Association with this enforcement campaign, Trooper in a Truck, again, over the past 5 or 6 years here. So thanks.
Awesome. We appreciate our partnership with State Patrol. It's been fantastic. Neal, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, how many hundreds of years you've been driving and millions of miles? Because he's really old.
I'm catching you, Kim. My name's Neal. I've been driving now 33 years. I've had my CDL, 30 years over the road. Got 2.8 million accident-free miles. Had 3 jobs in that course of that time. And like I said, proud of what I do out here. I've been a member of the Wisconsin Road Team since 2022, which was the first year I started doing Trooper in the Truck.
So interesting, back when we started doing it in 2022, the prior year, one of my road team captains, Jason Johnson, came to me and said, we see so much stuff out on the road, and Neal, I don't want you to tell us all the stuff you've seen on the road because this is not an R-rated program. This is PG only. And, they see so many things, and the four-wheelers are clipping off the trucks and the accidents. They don't know where the no zones are. They can't navigate anything, and they're just distracted driving. So the law enforcement officers ride in the truck, and the higher vantage point allows the troopers to observe unsafe drivers. That's difficult for you to see from a patrol standpoint. Lieutenant Henriksen, would you want to tell us, what the main focus points are that your troopers are looking for when we do this patrol?
Yeah, sure thing. So again, it's that idea of this is an education campaign in addition to an enforcement campaign. So really getting the word out there about things like distracted driving, risky driving behaviors in and around CMVs, traveling in those no zones, and then cutting off large trucks that weigh, 4, 5, 6, 10 times more the weight than those passenger vehicles do. So really getting the enforcement component out there in addition to the educational piece is important to us for this. So again, distracted driving is what we're looking for. Is someone using and manipulating their cell phone while driving? Are they driving in a construction work zone area where cell phones are prohibited or handheld devices are prohibited? Another newer one for us is in the last couple of years is the implementation of that emergency response area. So 500 feet within an emergency vehicle along the roadside would be another place that those cell phones would be prohibited by those passenger vehicles. Having the handheld device, again, is prohibited within 500 feet of those emergency response areas. And then seatbelts, that's an easy one to be able to see from that higher vantage point as well. Just making sure that drivers can be as safe as possible when we're traveling to their destinations.
I think the amazing thing to me is I'm old, so when I was born, we didn't even have seatbelts in the car. We cut them out, they'd wrinkle our clothes, whatever. But everybody now has been raised with seatbelts. And I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, we did a survey of 500 driver education students. 50% of them admitted to never wearing their seatbelt. And I always think that if 50% had admitted to it, how many really aren't? And
Right.
I ask them, I go into the classes, I'm sure Neil goes into the classes, and we say, why aren't you wearing your seatbelt? I don't want to. I'm like,
Well,
why should I care more about your life? We show them those horrible videos of that people would survive, and they still don't wear their seatbelts. Neil,
you
go
know what
ahead.
the funniest thing was when we would do Trooper in the Truck, they would do that one segment and then we go over to where the aggregate quarry was. And it was amazing how many of these guys that were driving the dump trucks wearing the high visibility shirts were not wearing a seatbelt, where you could clearly see they didn't have anything on. And it made it easy pickings. And then we're supposed to be the standard for everybody out here. And to see these guys with the high vis shirts, it's my seatbelt is orange, so you can see it when I'm wearing it. Where you could
Our big thing is education. So between the state patrol and ourselves, we do a press release. We let everybody know where we're going to be, what days we're going to be there, when we're going to be there. Like, please wear your seatbelt. Stay off your phone. It's amazing. Last year, when we did it in Green Bay, and it was on a Thursday, and in Green Bay we do it on a bus, and there's probably 5 troopers on the bus, at least myself, some other people, and we saw somebody without a seatbelt, and they
where you
pulled
could
him over, and the dispatcher came across and said, "Oh, the driver of the car has been known to have a passenger that has concealed weapons." So now I'm nervous. I would hate for this program to end up in a situation. It made me so
where you could
aware of what you gentlemen and ladies happen when you walk up on any car.
where you
And
could
they walked up to the car and we waited. We stopped. We stayed on the other side of the road and we waited for backup just in case. And so we're sitting there waiting, and the trooper went up and said, "Well, you know why we're stopping you?" And she's like, "No." And he's like, "Well, you weren't wearing their seatbelt." They said, "Do you see that bus over there? There's 5 patrol officers. There's 5 troopers on that bus. They all saw you not wearing your seatbelt." And he looked over and he said, "Troopers on a bus giving out tickets? That's the most Wisconsin thing I ever heard."
Right.
if we let, and he had a warrant out for his arrest. So I would think, I don't know, if it were me, if I had a warrant out for my arrest, I might like drive the speed limit, put my seatbelt on, do everything possible to not break the law. But apparently that's not an issue. So what do the troopers tell you, Nate, that they're seeing more from the cab, and why do the troopers actually enjoy? They feel like they say we should do this every week out of the year. But
Yeah, again, having that higher vantage point is very helpful for us, from that enforcement, and then, or from that enforcement perspective, I should say. But then just having the cars be available to radio from the truck, because again, the semi truck or the CMV, or in that case in the Green Bay with the bus, they're not the ones that are pulling the vehicle over. It's radioing to the cars that are in the area, working that detail that would then get in position to conduct a traffic stop based on what the officer sees from the truck. So again, it really does bring in just another tool for us to be able to assist with that education and enforcement component, to just making sure that drivers are being as safe as possible, both from just a normal everyday, routine getting from point A to point B, but in addition to making sure that they're driving safely in and around commercial motor vehicles. But
Neil, when you're out there on the road every day, you see all this stuff, and why? It's one of the things when I put out the call to say, "Hey, we're doing Trooper in a Truck on this week, and this day I need someone there." I have an abundance of drivers who want to do it, and why are you drivers so happy to do this?
but you,
Well,
but you,
as long as I've been doing this, it's been an issue now ever since the cell phones became prevalent. All the other distractions that are inside the car, the infotainment systems. It's unsafe. I see a lot of people doing it. They're more focused on with their hand down doing this than what they are paying attention. And they can't keep their lane. I've got to watch out for them, make space for them, so to say. And it's not only the cars that are doing it. There's guys in the CMVs that are doing it as well. We've pulled over a few in the last couple of times we've been out with it. And for me to take a part of that to help educate people to say, hey, not only wear your seatbelt, but pay attention to what you're doing. Don't get in a hurry. Aggressive driving is another thing you see quite a bit out here. Just take your time. You're going to get there. And all of us would rather see you get there safe than have an accident and hurt yourself or someone else because of it.
Neil, you mentioned a good point there in that people are distracted with a lot of different things. We talk about texting and driving and how that's dangerous, but yet there's a lot of other different things that you can be distracted with when you're driving, whether it's, putting on makeup, eating, your pet, whether it's in the back seat or up by you when you're driving. Or just even talking with passengers. There's a lot of different reasons that I think drivers are distracted. And one of those other things worth mentioning too when it comes to mobile devices, cell phones, iPads, etc. Wisconsin law says that you can't have anything within the driver's view for entertainment purposes. So oftentimes you see like up by the windshield there, people will have phones for GPS, which is okay. But what's not okay is watching, a movie or YouTube or using social media while you're traveling down the road as a driver. Because again, having anything that's related to entertainment for the driver within the driver's view is a violation of state law as well.
We have someone who said I wasn't texting. I was watching Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
So that's better.
I've seen that. I've seen guys with the laptops up on their dash driving down the road watching a movie in the semi.
It is very disheartening to me, the number, especially last year, we had an increased number of CMV drivers texting and driving, having their phones on the steering wheel. They think that, you can't see that. And they've been using it more and more, and it's very upsetting to me because that's a big fine. That's a huge fine. I don't know why.
Not only for them, for the company.
Exactly. The four-wheelers, the cars, you physically have to see them manipulate with their thumb. And I wish that Wisconsin, I don't know, Nate, what you can do. I wish that Wisconsin would go to no cell phones, no handheld cell phones, because, they can hold them in their hand, which is still distracted driving, in my opinion. I just don't know what we could do to catch up to some other states who don't even allow you to hold them.
This episode of the Road Ahead podcast is sponsored by Baker Tilly. Baker Tilly provides accounting, tax, and advisory services tailored to the transportation industry, helping trucking companies navigate today's challenges and prepare for tomorrow's opportunities. Go to bakertilly.com to learn more. Now, let's get back on the road with today's episode.
All right. Neil, one of the things we should probably point out today is that you are parked in the truck, not moving, not texting and driving, not using infotainment at all.
Correct.
So, Neil, tell us some of the experiences you had while you were out there in the last couple of years, some of the interesting ones.
So what Nate had said a few minutes ago about people with the handheld cell phones, we had, using the manipulation with the thumb. We had a CMP that passed us the one year. The guy had his phone talking to somebody, but he had it in his hand like this as he was talking. can't have it in your hand on a CM. You know, Bluetooth, hands-free is what it should be. Seen a lot of different texting and driving. First year we did it, we had a guy go by us, had his phone, like Kim had set up, steering wheel, texting away as he's passed us. They pulled him over in a CMV. I guess that guy
Bobtail in the rain, too.
I believe, well, it was a sunny day.
Oh, it rained right during that point. He was bobtailing the rain. I remember it.
Maybe it was.
Yes.
But he followed this social media influencer out in California. So he complained to that. And at one of our drivers that I worked with, somebody had come up to him in a different state a few days later. Oh, you the narc that was, pulling trucks over for being on their phone? And the guy that I worked with had no idea what this guy was talking about. But Kim got wind of it. That was one of the experiences that we had. But for the most part, it's...
The YouTuber said it was entrapment, Nate. That having a trooper in a truck is entrapment. And I guess I was trying to educate him on what entrapment really was. And obviously, this is not it.
But as you stated early on when we first started this, Kim, the State Patrol, you give them plenty of notice. Hey, we're going to be doing this. So put your seatbelts on. Put your phones down. Drive your car. There's no excuse why, it's not entrapment when the word is out there that we're going to do this. Just like when the State Patrol does their air patrols. I see the posts that, hey, we're going to be doing air enforcement in this area.
I should say 90% of the comments on that post were positive towards what we were doing and said we should do it more often. But, there are some people who, are not happy.
I'd like to see it more often.
Yeah, Neal, you make a great point in that it is very similar to that for our air enforcement details that we utilize an airplane to track not only speeding but aggressive driving as well. And then in the same way that we do with observing either distracted driving or unbelted drivers or reckless drivers, radioing from that, either from that plane or from a truck in this case, to that other ground car within the area to respond, and then confirming that, yep, we've got the right car, that you're behind, and here's what I saw. Because it's ultimately that officer who would be providing that narrative report if a citation is issued in those cases. So the one that observes the driving, whether it's the pilot or the officer in the truck, they'd be providing that information in the officer who stopped the vehicle's report. So it is a collaborative effort on behalf of the officers who will see the observation to the one that conducts the traffic stop. But this Trooper in a Truck campaign is not unique into the daily missions that we do, whether it's air enforcement or just either or other types of similar enforcement efforts that we do.
I should also note that other states have a semi that the officer drives and does. A couple other states, just two. But this is unique in the fact that we work directly with the DOT, with the Wisconsin Motor Carriers Association, and the road team captains all collaborate together to do this project. And that's the unique thing, I think, that we're really proud of here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it just goes back to that partnership, and it provides an opportunity for us to be able to leverage future opportunities, whether it's helping to get the word out about educational opportunities, to get new drivers up to speed on the latest laws or training and things of that nature too. So, overall, it's a great partnership that we have with Wisconsin Motor Carriers Association that goes well beyond this week that we participate with Trooper in a Truck.
This year it'll be July 13th through the 18th. On July 13th, we'll be in Eau Claire. On the 14th, we'll be in Waukesha. That'll be Neal will be up. On the 15th, we're going to be in Madison. On the 16th, we're going to be in Green Bay. And on the 17th, we're going to be in Wausau. And we've kind of, Nate, why did we pick this week in July? What's the unique thing of that?
Sure. So, again, being able to do this consistently from year to year, one, helps with our own statewide initiative, but it is part of an overall larger initiative too when we think of a nationwide and even North American approach. So Operation Safe Driver coincides around the same time that we do Trooper in a Truck, and it is a program aimed at reducing unsafe driver behaviors by educating all drivers about the ways to share the road safely. And there's more information available online at cvsa.org about Operation Safe Driver. But again, this partnership that we've been doing the past several years is just a great way to coincide with some of those national campaigns as well.
You're familiar with the 8-second video, yeah?
Oh yeah, everybody should see it. It was
everybody should see that. Everybody that goes through driver's ed should have to watch that. That really puts it into perspective on how bad it really is when you take that minute to look at your phone and not pay attention to what you do.
Yeah, Minnesota DOT put on this it's called 8 seconds, and this truck driver was driving and he looked at his phone for 8 seconds and he killed a gentleman. We show that the road team captains go into the schools and show that video to the kids to say 8 seconds was all it took for him to look at his phone and kill somebody. Don't do it. And it's rough. It's very rough. It's told by the gentleman who's in prison right now and the family whose father was killed. It's very, very heart-wrenching to see it. You know, I get asked so often why we do it. Well, why we do it is we want everybody to go home safely. We want the driver to get home safely. We want your grandma to be home safely. We want everybody on the roads to be home safely. I want the officers to go home safely. Like I said, I was shocked. It was really not shocked, I guess I should know, but it was just right in my face that any traffic stop that you guys do is very serious, could potentially turn into a very dangerous situation. And we have such a respect at Wisconsin Motor Carriers Association for law enforcement and for DOT in our partnership. We work together so closely, and I feel like sometimes I see some of you guys more than I see my own family. So I feel like you kind of are family. You come and do so many things. We go to the SWEF visits. They come and they help us with the truck driving championship. They come and they put on several presentations, and I feel like you guys are my friends, and I would never want anything to happen to my friend. And we appreciate that you guys are out there putting your lives on the line every day, even for something that's, as you think, is mundane and an education thing as Trooper in a Truck. It could turn into a serious situation.
You know, to that, Kip, too, how many times do you see the videos on YouTube of a traffic stop and all of a sudden a car coming out of nowhere barreling into the trooper's car that's parked there because somebody was inattentive, texting on their phone or not paying attention to what they're doing? You know, the law is there, move over or slow down, but if you're not paying attention, which is why we do this.
This year we're going to have to watch out for any disabled vehicle on the side of the road, because the new law in Wisconsin is you have to move over for not just emergency vehicles, but for anybody, which I thought that was part of driver's education all the time, wasn't it? I mean, we always just pulled out.
We always try to. If we're able, we always try to, because you never know who's going to come walking out from the front of it. I had an experience here. I had saw some construction vehicles up on the shoulder, and I had moved over into this, the lane next to where they were on the shoulder. So I gave them room. The guy come out from his front of his truck and started walking right in the traffic lane. And there was nobody there, but that could have been bad had I not been able to get over.
Yeah.
And I didn't see if he looked, but all of a sudden he's walking out, and I told Jillian, hey, check the video and told us, and she got it on video. And you never know what's going to happen in these situations.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we all have to pay attention when we're driving.
And I have a couple thoughts based on that, Neal, in that one of them being, if you do see a disabled vehicle further down the road and because you're not distracted, you're paying attention, and you do see that vehicle that's down the road, like Kim mentioned, that the new law that requires you to move over or slow down if you're not able to move over. But like I tell my kids and others that, maybe that might be new to driving, is in the event that you see a vehicle that's pulled over, you can be thinking ahead, well, why is that vehicle pulled over? In the instance of a semi-truck, it oftentimes is because of a retread that may have come off or some other type of disabling mechanical situation. And is that thing in the roadway? Maybe it's an animal that was struck. So just even having the wherewithal to see further down the road that, yes, there's a vehicle pulled over, but then ask yourself the question, well, why might they be pulled over, so that you can avoid what might be in the roadway because an officer hasn't been there yet to be able to clear that debris out of the roadway. So that's just, all the more reason to make sure that you're paying attention and kind of thinking the next step ahead of what I need to be doing in consideration of that vehicle that's pulled over on the side of the road. And then the other thought to that then too is to be able to move over to the next lane possible is always constantly having that awareness of your surroundings so that you have an out, you have a lane to move over, and you're not following someone in their blind spot, or in the case of a commercial motor vehicle, you're not following or not driving alongside a CMV in the blind spots or in those no zones. So that if you need to move over to another lane, that you're able to do so easily because you're paying attention and you're leaving yourself that out.
One of the things we do also during the trooper in the truck is we have press come out, we have news media come out. We put them in the truck, and then we put a vehicle back there. We say, this is what the officer can see. Now see where this car is moving up. When can as they're in the cab of the truck, when can you see the car? They don't know that these no zones are here. People are like driving too close to the trucks that are 80,000 pounds, and it takes them a longer time to stop than a car. And so these are some demonstrations that we try to get so that the media will get that out to the public and say, hey guys, stay away from this parts of the truck.
So I actually had that happen to me a few years ago. Headed out east, and during the day, sunny day like today, I'm cruising along, out right about speed limit, got my cruise control set, and I passed a state trooper in media, and he pulled out, and watching him in the mirror, gets in behind me, and the lights come on. I'm like, okay, I wasn't really doing anything wrong. Maybe I'm just going to get an inspection. So I hit the turn signal to get on the shoulder. And as I look in my right mirror to get on the shoulder, here comes this little car that must have been right a foot off of my bumper onto the shoulder. And he was pulling that guy over, being so close behind me. And I didn't even know that car was there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the numbers exactly, but I think that it's upwards like 60% of accidents with commercial vehicles and four-wheelers. It's the fault of the four-wheeler. But I don't think that anybody, sees that. All they just see is a big truck hit a car. That's all anybody ever focuses on. They don't focus on the behavior that's happened before or after. I've sent some videos around. I don't know if you saw the new TikTok thing. I don't know if you saw the new TikTok challenge, is where a guy on a motorcycle will drive up and touch the side of a semi as they're driving by.
I got an email on that.
Yeah, I sent out the video. Two of our members this is this new TikTok challenge where these people think that they can just, let's see if I can touch a truck as I'm going past it on a motorcycle. A truck didn't see it. There were cameras, obviously now we have forward facing, rearward facing, and even all the cameras, which is helping the drivers. But this is crazy behavior around a truck. I just don't understand it.
You mentioned the cameras. I remember a couple of years ago seeing the video that you had sent out. Happened in another state. One of our Wisconsin motor carrier partners drivers was in another state, passing a semi going up a hill. The car passed the semi on the right shoulder, come back in front of this guy into the left lane where the semi was passing, had stood on the brakes, brake checked it. And it was on the dash cam that we have on the truck.
I might add that the license plate was very visible of that four-wheeler,
yes.
And that might have been turned over to that other state's patrol, and that person might have gotten a ticket, thanks to the camera.
But I mean, that's the type of thing we deal with. That's not all the time, but there are situations like that happen to us. And, sorry, we're driving an 80,000-pound vehicle. You start to pass somebody, you get to a hill, and this is where the patient comes in. Just give me a few minutes. I'll get out of your way. Let me do what I need to do. But behavior like that, you see it all the time out there.
Yeah, and Kim, you mentioned cameras. They are a great tool for us, especially in an investigative type situation when it comes to, well, why did this crash occur? And you get one driver saying, well, it was because the passenger vehicle's fault, and the passenger vehicle saying, well, it's the semi-driver's fault. But more and more, we're seeing more of those opportunities to be able to review dash cam from the motor carriers. So that is a very helpful component for us. It is a bit challenging from an enforcement standpoint because oftentimes we will receive videos from drivers that said, this vehicle cut me off, and can you do anything about that? And oftentimes it's pretty difficult for us to be able to follow up with those. But we certainly do utilize those from the standpoint from an investigation tool. It is very helpful.
Well, we appreciate all the time that you guys have given us. I guess, Nate, we'll have you give me 1 or 2 takeaways from our Trooper in the Truck program and why it's important to you. And the same thing for Neal. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Lieutenant.
sure. Thanks again, Kim. It's just been a great partnership with Wisconsin Motor Carriers Association for us to be able to network with you, to get to know the drivers and the road captains. It's just a great tool, not only for this week, but like we talked about in those different opportunities throughout the year where we can help to educate drivers and educate the public on these safety initiatives. So for me, we're grateful on behalf of the Wisconsin State Patrol to be able to partner and help to really focus on these driving behaviors that are dangerous not only to the motoring public at large, but just help drivers be safe in and around commercial motor vehicles as well.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Neal?
Nate pretty much said the same thing I would say. I always look forward to this time of the year being able to do it and help educate people, show them that, hey, you should be focused on driving. Not only the texting, distractions, the aggressiveness that I've been seeing more and more of. Just relax. You're going to get there. Is it really worth saving 10 seconds to cut somebody off or to speeder out somebody on the right? Like I said, when we go to the schools, it's more of educating. Like I said, same thing with why we do this. It's so everybody can get home safe at the end of the day.
Well, I want to thank the State Patrol, and I also want to thank our companies who donate their time and their driver, who all have drivers that they donate for the Trooper in a Truck and for the road team year-round that can go out and educate the public. We couldn't do it without them. I should mention, one of the complaints of somebody who was stopped, they wanted to know, well, what is the cost of this program to the state? Well, there's no cost. The companies donate the truck and the driver, and you guys are out patrolling anyway, so there's no overtime that's involved in it. So there's no extra cost. What is the cost of saving one life? That's what I want to know. What is the cost of educating one person so that they think maybe twice about grabbing that phone? A phone can wait, a life can't. I don't understand why they think that this is, even if it was cost $5 or whatever, what's the cost of saving one life? We appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Trooper in a Truck, July 13th through the 18th, Wisconsin. There'll be some more information coming out. And we appreciate, Nate, tell all the guys how much we appreciate it. And Neal, I'll thank you later.
All right. Thanks, Neal. Thanks, Kim. We appreciate you both.
Nate. Yep. You guys take care. Have a good rest of the day.
All right, that is going to wrap it up for the June episode of the Wisconsin Motor Carriers podcast, The Road Ahead. I want to thank our safety programs coordinator, Kim Conradt, for her work on the Trooper in a Truck program, and of course, our good friends at the Wisconsin State Patrol for making it all possible. It's a great week-long program to educate motorists out there and keep everybody safe as they travel during these summer months. And speaking of summer months, we've got a lot of great events coming up here at the Wisconsin Motor Carriers Association. July 14th, we have our first golf outing at Lake Arrowhead up by Stevens Point. It's a great outing and a great event. Tuesday, August 18th, is our Brewers tailgate party at, of course, American Family Field. Go Brewers. It's going to be a fantastic event. As always, we're really looking forward to that. And then August 26th, the Oaks Golf Outing is our second outing for the WMCA. It's located here just outside of Madison. It should be another wonderful event. Go to witruck.org/events to check out all of those events and more on our webpage. So until next month, when our next episode drops at the end of July, we will see you again on the road ahead.